If you have topics you would like to have us discuss on the Aging Well podcast, please click on the links in the episode description to send us a text or record your message or comments. We'd love to hear from you and how we can help you age well. If you benefit from the Aging Well podcast and would like to support the content financially, please click on the Support the Show link or support our affiliates and advertisers. Welcome to the Aging Well podcast. I'm Jeff Armstrong here with Corbin Bruton. In this and the episodes that follow, we will share candid discussions on aging and hear from the experts. We are here to inform and encourage as we experience, aging.
In your pursuit of aging, is your glass half full or is it half empty? Or is it full of water or half full of water and half full of air? We'll discuss this bit of a metaphor in today's episode. We'll also discuss how results are not the only thing that matters. It's our performance in life that matters, and that showing up is the most important thing, and that we should not accept in our senior years what we would not accept in our youth. We'll focus on the process and age well. So Corbin, you know that I'm a fan of Rob Gilbert's Success Hotline. Hopefully you've started calling that on a regular basis.
I have not.
I will leave the number and the link. It's available both in the podcast form, so you can get it on pretty much anywhere you'd get your podcasts as a Success Hotline, or you just simply call up the number and he gives you a recorded message every day. I really enjoy doing it. It's a part of my daily commute. And this past, I believe it was Friday, so as we're recording this would have been May 5th. He presented episode 11,761, and it was a message that was directed primarily to graduating high school seniors to encourage them to kind of overcome some of their trepidation about starting college and those types of things. And he was talking about how to be successful in college and the one thing that you need to do to be successful in college, and that was simply just showing up. If you show up to class, you're going to graduate. And I thought it was a really great message, and it got me thinking about, not only seniors in high school, but seniors in life and how showing up can benefit us all and help us to age well. So I thought that might be a good topic to discuss today. What do you think?
I really like that idea. I'm interested on how we're going to tie this in with seniors in life.
Well, you got to show up to age well, right? And he quotes in the message Woody Allen, where Woody Allen says showing up is 80% of life. And he says, no, it's 100% of life. And if we're going to go on a limb, we can say that showing up is 100% of aging well. And I kind of tied it in also to this week's podcast from Jim Harshaw's Success Through Failure, where in episode 402, which is titled Beyond Results, and we've had Jim Harshaw on the podcast, and if anybody wants to go back and listen to that one, it's a really good conversation, and maybe we'll have Jim back on here at some point. But it's Beyond Results, Why Performance Matters More Than Outcome. And I think that the two messages really kind of connect together. He talks about Tony Bennett, the Virginia basketball coach, being quoted as saying, don't accept in victory what you would not accept in defeat. And again, it got me thinking about aging well. And I thought, well, do not accept in your senior years what you would not accept in your youth. And its results are not the only thing that matters. It's performance that matters. And in order to perform, you got to show up and you got to do it. And so when we're talking about aging well, to age well, you got to do something. I would say that in aging, years don't matter. It's more about the quality of those years. It's performance that matters. And so showing up, it's not just simply getting up in the morning. Although if you do get up in the morning, you're moving toward, you have a better opportunity to successfully age. So what do we do to be able to get up early or get up every day?
What we would do is be a part of something that's bigger than us.
Okay.
I would say that, you say that 100% of life is showing up. Michael Jordan had that famous quote of, we miss 100% of the shots that we never take. So take that shot. Be involved in something. The quote of you're going to pass your classes or you're going to graduate if you show up every single day. Well, that kind of transitions to the real world. If you show,
it definitely transitions.
yeah, if you show up every single day to your classes, you're slowly developing a habit to show up every single day to your job, to your career, and you're present. You're there. You're not just going through the emotions, because no one just goes through the motions. Maybe a couple days, yeah. But eventually you have to do your job. You have to be a part of it. I think he also used the other example of if you show up to a gym every single day and you sit in that lobby, well, eventually you're going to say, all right, I'm going to hop on the equipment. I'm going to grab some free weights. I'm going to do some cardio. I'm going to do something. The act of getting up out of bed and going to do something, eventually that something, it's like a snowball effect. It turns into something bigger.
Well, how's that applied to aging?
Well, it's that's a great question. It applies to aging because the best way I can think of it right now is there's actually another epidemic besides the obesity epidemic. There's actually an epidemic of depression and anxiety, and a lot of people, they're not wanting to get out of bed. They're not wanting to, and I get it. Depression is a really, really hard thing, but forcing yourself to get up out of bed and forcing yourself to go do something, for lack of a better word, it's kind of that mind over matter. And it also gets you out of that element of that dark stronghold that depression may have on you. And it gets you up to go do something. You become a part of something, whether it's a career, whether it's social interactions, it's something other than yourself where you in that depressed state, it's hindering, right? But at some point you say, no, I'm not going to let this beat me. No, my bed's comfortable, but I'm going to shut that voice that's saying, hey, just sleep a little longer. Hit that snooze button. Nope, I'm getting up. I have goals. I have dreams. I have ambitions. I want to be strong. I'm going to go to the gym. I want to be successful. I'm going to my work. I'm going to my job. I'm going to my career. I'm going to my kid's soccer game. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be active. I think it just kind of carries on, and we gain those experiences in life. And with those experiences, we can teach that next generation. I just threw a lot at you and one question.
Kind of all over the place there a little bit. I mean, depression, that's one of the biggest problems of depression is that you can't take that step to just move forward and get out of it. It's being trapped in that situation. And I think for somebody who is depressed, and it's sometimes challenging to be able to recognize that or have the energy to act on that recognition that they're depressed. And so they just sit and kind of stay in the state that they're in and allow themselves to just kind of get sucked deeper and deeper into it. And, in some cases, depression is, we talk a lot about biomechanical, psychosocial, those components all kind of contribute to depression in different ways. And so if it is biological, then, maybe in some situations, medications might be necessary to enable that person to be able to show up and, do what they need to do to hopefully age well, get out of that depression and age well. In other situations, it might just be having to push yourself to get that energy. And it might require some accountability, somebody pushing you or pulling you out of bed in the morning in order to kind of get you going. But it's definitely that if you don't do something, you're never going to get out of that situation. Right. And so when we talk about aging and aging well, if we can resign ourselves to the fact that, okay, as I get older, this is what's expected. There's nothing I can do about it. And so I'm just going to sit here and accept aging. And we've had David Kravitz and Larry Wolf on the program before to talk about their book Super Aging, and we've talked about kind of default aging versus this concept of super aging where we're engaged in the aging process and, our healthcare in becoming active, involving ourselves in our community, involving ourselves in something bigger than ourselves. That allows us to age much more effectively than if we just simply resign ourselves to, well, it's expected. So I have maybe 10, 20 years left. I'm just going to do the best with what I have. And I'm going to retire and I'll just, hopefully have enough money to get by.
Yeah, but that's not the mentality that one should have.
Absolutely not.
You should not settle. You should strive for excellence, right? Whether it's hitting your goals in the gym, whether it's trying to get a promotion, or whether it's just living life, you should strive for excellence.
And I think it's really, if you want to talk about showing up in life, it's having a growth mentality, a growth mindset where you want to be better every day. It's not a matter of just, okay, I've kind of where I'm at and I just got to kind of cruise along here. It's not, you don't want to put our lives in cruise control and then just, ride it out. We want to be performing better as we move forward. And, you know, again, if we look at that idea of don't accept in your senior years what you would not accept in your youth, what is it that we tend to accept in our senior years? Oh, I'm gonna hurt when I get up in the morning, or I'm not gonna be as strong as I would because I'm gonna lose muscle mass, and yeah, I'm gonna lose bone mineral density, and my cardiovascular health is gonna slowly decline, and I'm not gonna be as strong as I was in my 20s, and I'm not gonna be as you know engaged in the bedroom as I was when I was in my 20s. It's all just part of life. It's what happens. Well, if we accept that, then we're going contrary to that whole notion of, don't accept in your senior years what you're not accepting in youth. I mean, would you in your 20s want to, just resign yourself to being weak and frail and tired all the time?
No. But I also think that's a mindset too. And I think there's a lot of studies that are out there as far as that psychological aspect. I know a lot of I know a lot of religions talk about that, where they think like, whatever your thoughts are, they will come out as words. And then that becomes a little bit of your truth. You're kind of manifesting that. But with science, there's that placebo effect. People are given sugar pills in a couple research, and that's all it is. It's just sugar pills. It's not the actual medication, but in their minds, they believe it is the medication, and they actually will have physical healing on some ailment or some sickness. It's really interesting how powerful our minds are. So thinking like, well, this is how it is. I'm just old. I'm just going to age by default. Or if we follow the guidelines of David Kravitz and Larry Wolf's book, that super aging, how they talk about super aging, it is a mindset. It is, no, this isn't this. I'm not going to age by default. This is my life. I'm going to age the way I want to. I'm healthy. I'm whole. I'm full of life. I'm full of energy. I'm taking it back.
My favorite authors is James Allen in his book, As a Man Thinketh.
As a Man Thinketh.
I wholeheartedly agree with that, if we want to improve the quality of our life, we have to believe that, first of all, that we deserve better quality in our life, that we're capable of having better quality in our life, and simply taking action to have it. I mean, there's no reason why we have to grow old and frail.
No. Going back to that showing up mentality, Rob Gilbert said, if you don't go, then you don't know. But I would say if you don't know, then you can't grow. And so showing up to an event, you're acquiring knowledge, you're acquiring life experience, you're growing as a person mentally, physically, emotionally, just being present and showing up in any aspect. But more importantly, life, you're growing. You're learning something. You're acquiring something to better yourself. it's a tool for your future. Would you agree with that, or am I just on a soapbox right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a mindset. It's what I preach often. Be your best today, be better tomorrow, and seize the moment. You've got to understand aging if you want to age well. And I think a lot of people are in the wrong mindset about aging. They think that they're in that default aging mentality where they just think that this is what's expected, this is what's going to happen, and they don't understand that they have control over the aging process. Now, obviously, there's things that we can't control because every day that we're on this earth, we have one greater opportunity for some circumstances to have a negative effect on us, whether it could be injury, cancer, various diseases that are outside of our control, but we can control the factors that we can control. And we've talked often on here about some of the nutritional approaches that people should be taking. We've talked about sleep. We've talked about resistance training a lot. We've talked about cardiorespiratory endurance. We've talked about maintaining a healthy body composition. So every morning that we wake up, we should be able to kind of look in a mirror and say, what do I need to do better today?
Right.
And so you have that growth mindset, you're looking at being better. And so if I look at myself now and say, okay, well, I'm maybe a little overweight or I'm not as muscular as I'd like to be. I could say, well, yeah, I'm 60 years old. Who cares? It's not normal for 60-year-olds to be lean and muscular and strong and those types of things. I wouldn't have said that in my 20s. I'd be like, I got to get in shape here because, the girls ain't going to like a guy that's looking like he's 60, right? So why look at ourselves in the mirror as a 60, 70, 80-year-old and say, oh, this is acceptable?
Well, it kind of goes back to that old quote, like age is just a number.
Yeah.
You're as old as you think you are. You're as old as you believe you are. The age on your birth certificate really should not matter. If you start saying like, oh, I'm 60 or oh, I'm 70, well, that kind of depends on what you believe, right? But if you're just, there's a lot of listeners out there where they lie about their age. They may be 70, but they say, I'm 40. I'm 35. They claim it. They just broadcast it. And some of them act or look like they are a lot younger because they have that mindset, I believe.
Yeah, but if you're 70 and you're saying you're 45, then first of all, people are going to catch you in that lie because there ain't too many 70-year-olds that look like they're 45. But if you're 70 and you look like you're 45, own the 70. Why not? You know, and I hate that phrase. Oh, you look good for your age. Well, what's supposed to be good? I don't want to look good for my age. I just want to look good.
Right.
And I don't want you to be able to guess my age. I don't care how old I am. In fact, I'm more proud of saying how old I am. The older I get, I want to be, I'm finally 60 now. It's like 59, just, still in your 50s, but now I've hit that sixth decade. I can own it and be proud of it. And, blow people's minds of what I can do in my 60s. That's what we should be doing if we want to really age successfully and age well.
I discussed my epigenetics test with True Diagnostic co-founder Hannah Wendt in episode 162. Epigenetic testing measures baseline and changes in your pace of aging, giving you the power to steer your anti-aging or health and wellness journey in the right direction. I learned that I am aging well. Click on the affiliate link in the episode description, use the promo code AGEWELL, and receive a 12% discount on your epigenetics test and monitor your pace of aging.
Yeah, totally. I don't know how to respond off that, but I think you nailed it. I think there's also, isn't there that other quote where it says, my youth is restored like the eagles? And it's just that mindset of, I'm I may be this age, but it doesn't hinder me from being youthful.
And there's a lot of young people that are acting pretty old.
They are, and I think it's because that younger generation, my generation, I think they just say a lot of negative things. Oh, my knees are hurting. Oh, it's because I'm getting old. Well, is it, or are you taking care of yourself? What are you doing to get knee flexibility? Are you getting old, or is that just an excuse?
Yeah, and I think for most people, getting old, it's not an age factor. It's a wear and tear factor. It's like you can have a car that's got 200,000 miles on it, but you've taken care of it, and it's like new. It's still got you know pristine paint. The interior is still great. The engine runs smoothly because you've been doing the oil changes and getting the tune-ups and balancing the tires and doing all that kind of stuff. And car looks great, runs great. I mean, I've seen a lot of people with really classic automobiles that look really, really good. And then you see somebody that's got a 5-year-old car that looks just like crap. I like some of those memes I've seen on social media recently. It's like, my 1956 Chevy still looks better than your brand new Honda. you know, Knocking Hondas there. I'm sorry, but don't you drive a Honda?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. But,
No, that's fine.
but
I'm ready to trade it in.
Maybe not so much just the exteriors of the vehicles, but as we look at, if we take care of ourselves and the things we have, the automobiles we have, they're going to last. They're going to, they're not always going to be brand new. And so when we look at our bodies as we age, there will be some level of kind of wear and tear on them. But if we treat them right and use them and engage them, they're going to still be pretty pristine in their old age.
Well, I mean, you're bringing up a good point. We take care of the things we love as collector items, or the things that we've earned and the things that we've appreciated. So there's a lot of people that they really take care of their cars. They'll have those 1950 Chevys that just look pristine. There's a lot of people that take care of their house, right? Whether it's their man cave or their garden or whatever the case may be, they take care of something, and it doesn't matter how long they lived in that house, it still looks pristine. That's great that we can do all these things for the stuff that we own or the stuff that we've earned, but we've also earned the life that we've lived. So why would we not take care of ourselves to continuously go through that life?
We also say we've earned the quality of the life we're living.
Right.
So if your body is beat up and frail and weak and everything as you've gotten older, whose fault's that?
Right. Well, going off of that car, if you have a really, really nice engine, you're not going to put diesel into it. You're going to put that supreme gas into it. You want to protect that engine by all means necessary. Same with your diet. You're not going to live off of Twinkies and Ho-Hos and McDonald's and Coca-Cola, right? You're going to live longer, and you're going to take care of yourself by putting in good, whole, nutritionally dense food.
And I think oftentimes as we age, we don't really engage ourselves in trying to improve our health or our bodies until something goes wrong. We don't appreciate what we have until it's gone. But I've known some of my really good friends that have really significant ailments that are completely out of their control. I think of my one friend Cindy, who has rheumatoid arthritis. Another friend Marianne had a kidney transplant. They are two people that go above and beyond to kind of just take care of themselves in order to get the most out of their lives. And for somebody like Cindy with rheumatoid arthritis, sometimes it's an almost impossibility, but they're not going to get any better, and they know this and they act this. They don't get any better unless they engage themselves in their lives and trying to get better. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. You can't be successful if you don't show up. You gotta try to be better.
And that's what Dr. Gilbert's saying is, if we just simply show up in life, we're going to get better, or at least we're going to have the best that we have. I mean, it's that opportunity cost beast. If we're not taking the opportunity, then that opportunity is going to something else. We have the opportunity the moment we wake up in the morning to have a good day or a bad day. And we can blame our circumstances on how bad the day gets and let that day get worse and worse and worse. Or we can own it and just say, okay, shit's going to happen. Shit has happened. I just need to deal with it and kind of move on, move forward and try and get out of this. Again, it's that Haval mentality that I've brought up before. That gratitude with the 2 T's. That's what it means to show up 100% of the time.
I'm a huge fan of David Goggins, and he calls it taking souls, actually. And when the world's whispering in your ear, like, hey, go back to bed. Hey, you're not good enough. Hey, whatever. Or you have, even around your circle, you have people watching and waiting for you to fail. Take control over that. Take the soul over that situation where it's like, no, you're not gonna fill me with negative thoughts. I'm gonna look you in the face and I'm gonna overcome this. Shut up, negative thoughts. This is my life. I'm taking control of this. It's a pretty good mindset, actually.
Yeah, I think just, again, it's taking ownership of our lives. And, we go back to in aging, years don't matter, but performance matters, the quality of our life matters, and we just got to focus on the process. So what do I do better today to age well?
What do you do better?
What do I do better? Well, exercising on a daily basis. I do need to try and figure out a way to get a little bit more cardio into my life, and that's probably increasingly challenging, because I have a very small window in the morning to get my weights in, but I make that a priority because I know that maintaining my muscular strength and motor coordination, all that kind of things, that's going to enable me to do more, that I can maintain my cardiovascular fitness a bit more effectively. But then, I have the commute. So I'm driving about 2 hours a day. I'm in the car, doing the coaching and strength and conditioning. That takes up a good, supposed to be an hour, but some of the guys like to lift a lot longer, and I'm not going to discourage that. Got one kid that, he'll stay an extra half an hour, but he's working his tail off. And it's like, how am I going to kick him out the door when he's getting results and he's doing the work? So, that takes a big chunk of my time that's normally set aside for doing a bit of cardio. I get home, I can either go into our garage gym and do some high intensity interval type training that might improve my cardiorespiratory endurance, or I can walk the dogs. And I need to walk the dogs. They need some exercise. And so I typically do that. So I'm still getting some activity, but I want to do more. Watching my diet, trying to keep the body fat down, trying to eat healthy on a regular basis, getting my bedtime, getting my sleep in there, spending some quality time with my wife every night, and doing our 15-minute check-in. So the time gets filled pretty quickly, but I hope that everything that I'm doing is fitting within my goal of well-centered fitness, having some spiritual focus, physical focus, intellectual focus, emotional and social, balancing those types of things. And hopefully that's helping me to age well.
Very cool.
What are you doing?
What am I doing? I'm reading a lot more. I've been reading. I start my morning off reading a couple Bible verses, and I just kind of sit and meditate on that. I try and read something else, whether it's something out of a science article or if it's something that has to do with history. I'm a huge believer that history is not necessarily dead. It's used as a tool that we can we can learn from, we can grow. I've been doing I've been trying to get back into the swing of working out. Been doing obviously what we talk about, resistance training. Been doing more of that 5x7 or the 7x5 program, focusing on the main seven. Yeah, the main 7 exercises. Heavy, 5 reps on that. Cardio wise, I've just been sticking to steady state, just walking at a fast pace, either at an incline or we have a nice loop around our neighborhood where we live. And my fiance and I will just kind of walk around that. And it's really nice because it's decompressing. We get to spend that time with each other. But there's also taking advantage of the weather right now. It's just, it's amazing. It's a blessing. I'm doing my best at work to make sure that I'm getting on somewhat of a schedule where I'm linking things into certain time slots. Before it was just like, I'm going to show up and however the day goes, that's how it is because it's such a chaotic job. Now I'm trying to prioritize things within a little bit of a time slot. Food wise, I'm trying right now not to eat if I'm not hungry. If I'm bored, I'm not necessarily going to eat. And if I am hungry, I'm prioritizing protein and vegetables. And then I'm getting into a sleep pattern. Now, as far as my sleep goes, I do have sleep apnea. I don't like wearing my CPAP. It's not comfortable. I'll wake up in the middle of the night. I have to almost take it off. I've tried adjusting it several times. Don't know what it is. So I've looked into other things as far as like the little mouth jaw where they try and pull your jaw forward. That's not necessarily working, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to stop. I know the importance of sleep, and making that a priority to get good, adequate sleep is huge, especially in that realm of aging. And yeah, just taking steps to always grow and always improve, be better than I was yesterday. That's what I do.
So I'm hearing a lot trying. You use the phrase trying a lot. So would you say
currently I'm trying out? No, currently I'm trying as far as the so currently I have a bedtime, but as far as adequate sleep, I'm dabbling in a few things to get that perfect amount of sleep. So I'm not hitting that deep REM sleep. So we're trying a few things out in order to accomplish that greatness. Once we get into that rut, then it's going to be fully accomplished. So it's kind of like a trial and error.
I would interject a kind of a better growth mindset is rather than I'm trying this, is I am doing this. I am improving this. I'm working on this.
See, but that's the point that we're bringing. Just that mindset and just with those words, like that changes the whole situation altogether. So you're right. I'm not trying. I'm experimenting with this. I'm doing these things in order to better myself.
Yeah, because it's the baby steps. You're taking the baby steps. We're not going to be perfect where we're at, but I think when we allow ourselves to say we're trying, it allows us a little bit more freedom for failure. And not that failure is bad, because as I mentioned, Jim Harshaw earlier, his podcast is success through failure. We are going to fail. But that failure that we experience as we attempt to age well should be stretching ourselves. I'm going to fail because I'm trying more than I'm presently capable of doing. But in trying something that is more than what I'm presently capable of doing means that I am stretching myself. And so I'm going to fail. But we're failing because we are, again, showing up 100% of life.
You're failing forward.
Right. We're failing forward. We're taking those steps toward self-improvement, and that's always going to involve failure. We talk about that with exercise. It's the overload principle. But if we just simply try, it gives us that freedom to, it's not bad because it's kind of like I'm sitting in the lobby of the gym. Eventually, if I'm trying, at least you're going in the right direction. Eventually, you're going to do. But if we don't try, nothing happens. If we're just trying, we're allowing ourselves a little bit more freedom to fail. And I'm not saying that, I'm just kind of picking up on the language and
No, it's
say,
good because but you're proving a point. Some people have that mindset of, well, I'm doing my best and I'm trying. Well, kind of like what you said, or kind of what Yoda said, do or do not, there is no try. Right. And having that mindset of, you may think that you're doing things, you may think that you are, but you're not fully diving into it. Change your mindset a bit. Right. If I were to take a glass and I were to fill it all with water, and I would say, is this glass full? And you'd say, well, it's full. It's obviously full. I can see that it's full. And I were to take that same glass and then I would to dump half the water out, and I would say, now what is it?
Depend.
Well, hold on. Hear me out. Because some people are going to say, well, it's half empty because you poured it out. And some people are going to say, well, it's half full, right? Those are the two number one thought process. I would still say it's all full, because it's half full of water and it's half full of air. No matter what your point of view is, that glass has to always be full. You always have to give it your best. You have to figure out a way to not have it be half empty or half full. It's always got to be full. There's always got to be a blessing. There's always got to be something better. You got to change your mindset. You got to think bigger than what's actually being presented in front of you.
Well, wait a minute, though. I mean, okay, it's full, but is it still a blessing when it's only half full of water or half full of air?
That's going to be your mindset, though. That's going to be what you take out of that. Because you can sit and say, well, I'm only getting half the water. I'm only going to get half hydrated. That's great, but you still have a glass. What you make of that glass is what you make of that glass, or what you make of the situation that you currently have. That's what carries forward in life. And that's what that metaphor is.
Yeah, but I would argue that, you're settling then on the quality of your life by saying, oh, I mean, again, that's not aging well. If like my glass is getting less and less full of water as I age, but it's filling up with more air, and you say, well, the glass is still full. Well, that's bullshit. It might be full, but all that lost opportunity. I would look at that air in the glass as being lost opportunity.
That would be your mindset, right? But someone else may be in a situation where maybe there's a hole in the bottom of that cup. And so as it's slowing down, they still have to figure out, well, this is the tools that I'm given. I can either find the blessing in what I currently have, or I can figure out a way to put a cork in that hole and fill it up all the way. It all kind of depends on your mindset. Do you want it to be halfway full of water? Do you want it to be halfway empty with water? Do you want it to be all the way full of water? Are you going to see the positive and the negative in any situation? That is what I would say, showing up and being a part of that aging well.
I don't know. I see a little bit of mixed metaphors going on in there. I mean, you talk about the hole in the bottom of the glass and, it draining out. I mean, I can see how that fits into the whole aging process, that, there is going to be certain limitations. I mentioned my friend with rheumatoid arthritis. I mean, yeah, for her, just keeping water in the glass is going to be important. But the mindset is still, I want more water in that glass. And so at this moment, my focus is on plugging the hole in the bottom and not losing that water, while I figure out how I can increase the amount of water in the glass. If we just accept that it's half full and that's just the way it is, we're missing out on all the other half of that glass of water.
Correct.
That's that opportunity cost piece. You have a glass, you have the opportunity to fill it with water or let it empty and be filled with air. Which do you want? Do you want a glass of air and you're content with that? Well, then you're not aging well. That's not, to me, the best outcome in life. the best outcome in life, again, if water is the quality of life and air is just the negativity or the lack in life, why would you want anything less than a full glass of water? And if you allow that glass to drain and you're not plugging the drain, then you're going to lose out on life a lot faster. That's going to be that default aging. I think that's probably a really good metaphor for super aging versus the default aging. Default aging is you got a small hole in the bottom of the glass, the water's slowly draining out, but hey, yeah, I still got air in the glass. The glass is still full, but it's draining, and then maybe it starts draining faster and faster and faster as we get older. But that's the way it is. There's a hole in the glass. That's just life. Whereas super aging is like, shit, there's a hole in the glass. I got to plug that hole and I got to figure out how the hell to get more water back in this glass because I don't want this air in here because it's not contributing to the quality of my life.
Yeah. But it also comes down to mindset.
That is the mindset. So you have two optional mindsets. You have an option of, some air in the glass is okay. Or, no, this is not okay. I need to get water back in the glass.
Well, there's also that third one where it's like, oh my gosh, it's draining. Everything's negative. Everything's, might as well just let it drain at this point. There's that negative mindset. There's more of a neutral mindset, and there's more of that positive go-getter.
I don't think there's that distinction. I don't think there's a neutral mindset. I think if you have that mindset, what you're calling a neutral mindset, where you're okay with, I still got half a glass of water, that's a good thing. That isn't any different when it comes to aging well than freaking out over it in the glass, or just thinking that, oh shit, the glass is draining, the glass is draining. Yeah, you might be a little bit more positive in your decline, but you're still declining. And so the option isn't, am I going to decline and be content with that? Or am I going to decline and just fret about it and be negative about it? Or am I going to approach life where I am going to try and capture as much of the quality that I can and live the highest quality life that I can for as long as I can? I don't think there's three options there. I think there's two options.
I would disagree. I think there are three options. I see where you're coming from, though. And I like your mentality. I actually agree with it. I think we all should not even have the cup be half full. I don't even think we should have it be full. I think we should have it be running over, like just overfilling, just dripping all over the place. I think every single person should strive for excellence. I also see a lot of people that they don't have that same mindset and that same mentality. So if they see just a little hole and it hasn't even drained an inch or a centimeter, they just start freaking out and everything is just so negative and blah, blah, blah. And then by them having that negative mindset, it's almost like they're twirling the glass and they're creating that own vortex of having that water just spew out of the bottom of it. If they have it's poked and it's slowly draining, you know what? Things aren't that bad. It is half empty. It is half full. It is fully full because it's got water and air. It's just that mindset. Do I want more water? Of course I do. But you have to figure out what it is that's going to quench what you're thirsty for. What are you thirsty for? Are you thirsty for a healthy life? Are you thirsty for financial independence? Are you thirsty for spending time with your family? What is that? That's going to be your decision to fill that cup as much as you want. That's
what I'm saying.
That I'm agreeing with you on that.
Well, you're still saying that there's.
I'm saying that there's going to be listeners that are out there that may not necessarily have the same mindset. So how do we change that mindset? They can either have the panic freak out moment of, oh, everything's negative, everything's doom and gloom, or they can slowly change it to, you know what, it's not that bad, to, hey, I'm going to get more. So having that negative yeah, it's not as bad. It's kind of a neutral thing. Everything will be okay. I'm still full, even though it looks like it's only half full. And then, hey, I don't want it to just be full. I want it to be flowing over. The whole point of the podcast was to make sure that, people need to show up. Sometimes, in order to show up, we can't have that negative. Sometimes we have to change it from that negative mindset into more of that everything's fine. Not going to let it bug me too much. And then transition to I want more. You're looking at me.
Did you ever take mathematics class in
Yeah.
elementary school and they teach you about positives versus negatives?
Yep.
There is no some kind, it's sort of negative or sort of positive. It's either positive or it's negative.
I would say the number 0.
Where you're either negative, and it might not be a huge quality of negativity, but it's there, or you're positive. And some people kind of hover right around that 0, that neutral, which is the one fine point, and you're either above it or below it, and maybe you're kind of oscillating around that on a day-to-day basis, which is kind of, I think, what you're talking about, that it is more of a area of neutrality, but it's still either positive or negative. There's no kind of both. It's like you're either positive, you're 0, or you're negative. And what we want to be is increasingly positive, and so showing up is just what's putting us over that from negative to positive. So if I'm 0.001 positivity, I'm positive. If I'm negative 0.001, I'm negative. But if I don't show up, I'm either at that 0 or I'm fastly falling into that negativity.
Yeah, but it's a mindset.
True. Yeah. You could go back to it's a mindset, but again, I'm saying it's not a multiple mindsets. It's really one or the other. And the goal is to move into that positive mindset and begin to be doing the things that over time are improving our quality. It's the performance that matters. It's our process in life that matters. It's that having a positive mindset, a growth mindset. You're either growing, you're stagnant, which is 0, or you're dying, you're declining. There's no, well, I'm sort of growing, or not, I'm dying, but I'm dying slowly, so it's not so bad.
I think it's also making the best out of every situation.
But that's positivity. That's being on the positive side. If you're in a circumstance, that's your glass.
But what's more positive? The glass is half full or the glass is always full? That's the positive mindset.
That's not the issue.
Or when the glass is completely empty, now I have a cool storage container. It's a different mindset, right?
You're shifting gears and you're...
But that's the thing. We're going to be placed in situations throughout our entire life. It doesn't matter what that situation is. How can we make the best of that situation?
You're changing your metaphor.
How can we grow from that situation? What is the take home of this situation? What did I learn? Right? It's part of showing up.
But
if we don't go, then we don't know. If we don't know, then we can't grow.
Okay. But we're back to your glass metaphor here. From the glass metaphor, the glass is the circumstances you are given. That's your opportunity.
Correct.
And it's either filled to the brim of water, which is the positive, the best possible outcomes in life, or it is some proportion of water and air. And the less of that water, which we're calling that aging well, that quality of life, if that is draining and we're not plugging what's draining that, we are fast aging and declining and definitely not growing. If we are in that situation where there's a drain on our lives, our priority has got to be first to plug that hole, to make sure that we're not losing that quality of life. So if if it's a disease and that's robbing us of our health, robbing us of our opportunity, that's got to be a priority. We got to fix that so that we can restore ourselves and begin to hopefully fill that glass back up with water. If it's a bad relationship, you need to plug that. You need to get out of the bad relationship so that it's not draining us of a good quality of life. If it is unemployment, we got to find a job, so many people in housing situations. I mean, there's major issues that people have that are having a huge negative drain on their quality of their life. And that's got to be the priority to fix it. But you can't just accept that because it's there and everything is draining, that's just the way it is. And you can't just be, well, I'm content with the fact that I have this much of it left, even though it's draining like crazy out the bottom of my glass. You use that glass analogy. We want the glass to be solid, holding whatever we can contain in life. And then what are we doing to fill that glass with water? And that is the growth mindset. And so we can't have a growth mindset if there's a hole in the glass. You got to fix the glass, then start working on growing it. And it's not a growth mindset if we're content with, well, I still got half of the glass left. That's just an acceptance mindset. That's just you can say you can accept it with a positive attitude and that's good, but it's still not a growth attitude. We can lament about it and say, well, I lost half this glass and it's not full. I got, all this other air in this glass and not enough water, blah, blah, blah. That's negativity. That's just going to keep you from growing that much more. So until we bring our lives to that point of being at that 0 point, whether it's no positivity, no negativity, but we're at 0, now we can grow from there. And as we grow, then we're got to be constantly in that positive.
Yeah. Good job.
We got to work on your metaphors.
You know what? Some listener out there, they're like, I get it. I get what he's saying.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I want to emphasize that it's negativity and positivity are two sides of the coin, and there's no in between. We're either positive or we're negative. And, there's not necessarily an acceptable level of negativity. And my wife will probably throw this back at me at some point as she hears this podcast. And maybe some of my work colleagues will do the same. But because I have my moments of negativity. My glass isn't as full as I would like it to be. It's not as big as I'd like it to be. And that's probably, as I would take that metaphor, there's two aspects of aging well that I want in life. And one is I want that glass to be big and I want it to be full. And so as I grow it, as I make that glass bigger and bigger, obviously what is filling it takes up less of that glass. And so my mindset would be that it's not full enough, and even though I have all this fullness in it, I could be content with a smaller glass and say, well, I got a full life, but I'm not really doing anything. It's just a small glass full of water. I could be content. Many people would say that's great. That's fine. But a true growth mindset is going to be taking that and saying, okay, we have to keep growing the glass. And as the glass grows, the portion of water that's in it, even though it's the same volume of water, isn't the same. We're allowing more air in there. So that air is space that we can grow. And so we grow, we fill more and more water into that glass. And at the same time, we're growing the glass. And there is never really a full glass. We're always moving toward a bigger glass and closer to fullness as we attempt to age well.
So what you're saying is it's okay to be a little empty, because with that little bit of emptiness, you can find something to fill it.
Right. I mean, there's always got to be a little emptiness, because how do you have a growth mindset if there's not an empty, if there's not a pull to improve? I mean, you're basically saying, I don't need to grow because I'm full. I'm as good as I can be. And as long as there is some emptiness, that's our impetus to grow. I mean, Ronnie Coleman, one of the biggest bodybuilders ever. I mean, in the prime of his career, he was never saying, "Oh, I'm big enough," right? He was always trying to get bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, buddy.
So, and you look at anybody, successful in any area of life, you know, go to an Albert Einstein. Did Albert Einstein ever say, I know as much as I need to know? Yeah, he's probably one of and any of these like quantum physicists. I mean, these are some of the most brilliant people in the universe, and they're still like, we don't know everything. We don't understand everything. The world is still so much smaller and yet so much bigger than we understand, and there's so much more to understand.
Man, I just watched a documentary and they had 20 of the most brilliant minds at the exact same time, and they rented out one of the colleges for a summer, and they had Albert Einstein, they had Nikola Tesla, they had just the most brilliant minds, and they just put them all in this area, and they said just figure out stuff, figure out life, come up with something. And the competitiveness of these individuals always trying to one up each other, it's kind of funny because you see that in like the sport world, you see that in the marketing world, you see that in a lot of career and jobs. Like people are always trying to be better, but stereotypically you don't really see it from, people in that science area. And so I don't know, that documentary was really cool. It was really eye opening just to see these people that are so brilliant, and they don't have time for human interaction. But when they were all together in that room, it was just a matter of who's got the biggest brain. And it's just
the glass can always be bigger.
Exactly. Who's got the biggest brain?
It's kind of, you get in a situation where you're looking at, gee, his glass is bigger than mine. How is that possible? I got to grow my glass and I got to fill it more. Whereas too often in life, we are very content with just mediocrity and just saying, I got the glass I've been given, and, I've kept it pretty full through life. And yeah, it's draining now, but you know, I'm done with life. I've kind of retired. I'm just going to kind of live out my last years and hope that water doesn't drain out too fast. That's the mentality we're trying to hopefully discourage in this podcast. I think we should be encouraging people to grow that glass and keep filling it. It might not be filled the same way as it was when we were younger, and maybe with the same things, but it can still be filled. And in a lot of cases, if we have spent our lives filling our glasses with, say, you're a professional athlete and you have dedicated your life to being the best in the world at your particular sport, and you've grown that glass, you've gone from being the best in Little League football to the best in high school to the best in college. You won the Heisman Trophy. Now you're going to win the Super Bowl and win multiple Super Bowls and, have the best records of anybody, make the Hall of Fame. And then at some point you got to retire. That's your glass. Now that you're out of your sport or your area of greatness, that's going to begin to drain. And you still want to be growing that glass as football, as the example I was using, starts to drain out. You got to start filling it with other things. And so maybe it's, I want to focus my time now on being an entrepreneur or being a, philanthropist or being an educator or whatever it might be, solving social cause, being a politician and, helping my community. The glass is still there. The glass is still hopefully growing, but what we're filling it with is something different. as we attempt to age well.
Yep. Keep your glass full. Keep the glass growing. Keep showing up. Remember, if you don't go, then you don't know. And if you don't know, you don't grow. I like that. I think we're going to coin that one today.
I'm sure somebody's already coined that one.
Well, regardless, I think that we've pitched a great idea here and viewed a few metaphors, and just want to encourage everyone to always
age well.
Thank you for listening. I hope you benefited from today's podcast. And until next time, keep aging well.